Greetings, rational human beings across the planet Earth. I'm Paul Elam, and this is AVFM News and Activism with my co-host James Huff. And tonight, folks, we're going to do a partial book review. And I'm glad we had time to prepare for this because it actually took me a couple of hours to stop laughing before I could even contemplate talking about this incredible chapter from a book from observer.com. As I said just a moment ago, joining me is James Huff, our AVFM radio producer and commentator. James, how are you tonight?
I feel great. How are you?
I tell you what, I am much worse for having read this chapter. I mean, and folks, if you haven't read this yet, we put a link to it in the announcement. We'll end up getting a link to this in the low bar before it's over. But you're going to hear the whole thing anyway, because we're going to go through it piece by piece. James is going to read some. We're going to comment. Then I'll read some, and then we'll comment some more, and back and forth like that until we finally get through this piece of tragic comedy by two men who want to tell us what women want.
Tucker Max and Geoffrey Miller.
James, before we even go anywhere with that, and I know it's a cheap shot, but I'm going to do it anyway. Who names their kid Tucker Max? I mean, this sounds like some washed out movie that didn't work out very well for Tom Cruise. Tucker Max, played by Tom Cruise. What was his parents thinking? The other guy, what's Geoffrey?
Geoffrey Miller.
Geoffrey Miller. Okay, look, Geoffrey Miller, Jeff, kudos to your parents for not naming you like a character in a B-rate movie. But shame on them for not teaching you any more analytical skills. But why don't we quit just messing around and get into this? And oh my God, I've lost my link. But that probably just means that James needs to be the one to start reading this article, which is a chapter excerpt from a book. And it's entitled, Guys, Here's What It's Actually Like to Be a Woman, by two men.
Yep. The name of the book it's coming from, what we're about to review is an exclusive chapter excerpt from Mate, Become the Man Women Want.
No, oh boy, look, folks, there is going to be comedy with this. I know we're not going to hold your interest with a lame-ass topic like that unless we're analyzing it and poking the appropriate fun. Believe me, this is not just going to be a dry reading. We care too much about you to give you that.
Indeed.
So, James, you want to start? And
let's go ahead and get it rolling here. What we're about to read, folks, if this doesn't sound like the embodiment of Dear Woman, I don't know what does. Here we go. You have no fucking idea what you're doing. Not when it comes to sex and dating and women anyway. Don't beat yourself up about it, though, because it's not your fault. Your culture has failed you and the women you're trying to meet. We've been working with young, single men in our capacities as educators, public figures, and authors for more than 30 years. In that time, the most common question we've gotten from guys centers around how to increase their confidence with women. But there's a much deeper problem. At least 70% of their questions reveal a total failure to understand the woman's point of view. Well, why does this matter? As a man, it is impossible to be better at mating until you understand the subjective experiences of a woman, because it is fundamentally different than yours in many ways. If you can account for those differences, you will be well on your way to increase success, because most men spend zero time thinking about this. Okay, I need to stop right here. Folks, this is going to be a long one. But I've got to stop it right here, okay?
Some of you people better find the donate button because we're doing for you what you cannot and will not do for yourself. I'm going to point out here before we get started on this first opening bit of tomfoolery from these two clowns, they had the audacity to head this up with a quote from Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird, saying you never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view. Until you climb into his skin and walk around in it. And of course, how ironic, I don't think they probably wanted to quote anything about climbing into Tom Robinson's skin or almost anybody else from To Kill a Mockingbird, but I found it just the ultimate in irony that these two idiots could actually be seriously quoting Atticus Finch in a novel that is, or a book that is designed to stereotype negatively an entire group of the population. Call me crazy, but I think that does make the words a little more telling, where they start out saying you have no fucking idea what you're doing, and indeed, gentlemen, you do not. But we're going to help educate you a little bit here. One, I want to point, and if you'll let me ramble for a moment here, James, I want to talk about just already the abject gynocentrism that's put in this this whole thing. It's all, everything you just read is about getting pussy. Let's cut it right down to the core of what it's about. It's about getting pussy. More success that they're talking about, what do you think that success is? It's about romantic involvement or sexual involvement. So what we have here is a couple, we have the PUA version of Gay and Arjuna that have come out with this sort of a self-help book, if you want to call it. At least 70% of their questions reveal a total failure to understand a woman's point of view. And then again, they of course start talking about the subjective experience of women. So what this translates to actually is that you need to understand not what's going on, but what she thinks is going on. And you need to respond to that in a way that validates what she thinks and feels. Whether it is actually valid or not is not a part of the equation. Already we're infantilizing here.
I already have a new title for this whole article, just from reading this. Dear woman, let me fuck you.
I'm very sorry. Will you share your vagina with me now? God, I mean, it is like, and you know, again, there is. This is from Observer.com. This is a massively traveled website, and I know that there are now thousands upon thousands of women out there that have read this and say, "Oh, somebody finally gets me." Yeah, we get you all right.
Well, I will say this. Having studied the mindset, but your radical feminists will look at this, and they won't see it too far off from what we're seeing it as. They're trying to get into women's pants.
Yes, exactly. That's what they're trying to do. They're selling this product with pussy hounding, and that's done under a feminist narrative. Yep. This is Roosh meets Gloria Steinem.
This is what happens when you let allies in.
Yes, I love that word, allies. You're not like a real person. You're just a thing that can help us.
These guys just should have donated to now and sat down and shut the fuck up.
Just like they did in Seneca Falls.
Just exactly.
For those of you who don't know that, when there were male supporters at Seneca Falls, they were invited in warmly and said, "Thank you very much for attending. Now sit in the back of the room and keep your fucking mouth shut." That has always been the feminist idea of inclusivity, and here we are seeing more of it now. let me pick up. This is a long article, so we're going to have to spend a few rounds on this. We're going to dedicate pretty much the whole show to it. But let me pick up with the last half of the last sentence that James read just a moment ago, which says, you will be well on your way to increased success because most men spend zero time thinking about this. Well, it depends on what means, what you mean by this. If you're talking about the absolute pablum that's being peddled here by Observer, yeah, men spend zero time thinking about this because there's really nothing in it for them.
And if it's upon the subjective experiences of women, well, I have to tell you, a lot of men do think about this, and most of the time it's, holy fuck, she's driving me crazy.
Well, it's either that, holy fuck, she's driving me crazy, or her subjective experience is like a box of fucking Fruit Loops, or they spend their time thinking, how do I emulate her subjective experience so that I can get her to open her legs?
Exactly.
But to say that men don't spend time thinking about women's subjective experience, are you off your fucking rocker? Do you not know anything about the lives of the average guy? I bet if either one of these two POSs are married, they spend their time at home all fucking evening every day thinking about the missus's subjective experience. But let's move on.
Or if they don't, they will certainly be reminded of it.
Well, part of their understanding of the subjective experience of their wives is probably reflected in writing this article, proving that they're aware of that when they're really not much aware of anything. Anyhow, the article goes on, the chapter goes on to say the differences start from the very beginning at our deepest primal levels. This is sounding very dear woman, isn't it? When a man interacts with a woman, his greatest fear is sexual rejection and humiliation. You know what? There's some truth to that. I'll give you guys we're going to put a little gold star up on the 3,000 points, over the 3,000 points you're getting wrong, and get one right. Yes, that is a fear that men have. This causes him to spend as much time and energy, if not more, on defensive strategies to protect against rejection as he does mating strategies to attract women. Well, guess what? That is human, I would say. That what men do is, yes, they prepare themselves for rejection. What are you two idiots proposing? That men put themselves out there, take the risk of rejection, take their dutiful gender role of being the initiator and of being the pursuer where it comes to their relationships with women, but just leave themselves ready to have their hearts ripped out and bleed, and saying that that's a bad thing. I don't think so.
And what happens when the situation is reversed? Women do the same thing. They prepare themselves for rejection when they do initiate. But
you don't understand, James. This is not about women. They're not. There's nothing. I mean, I hope you're not implying they're saying anything critical or trying to assist women in any way. Obviously, women need help with nothing because they have such a firm grasp of reality.
That's just right. Their subjective grasp of reality.
And according to these two guys, women are totally different. In these interactions, they are not much afraid of rejection. Well, I guess when you got 15 guys lined up to sniff your ass, you probably do have less fear of rejection. But again, I think we're going back to a biological state rather than a psychological state so much. Rather, when a woman interacts with a man, they say she's afraid of being physically harmed or sexually assaulted. Okay, here we come with the threat narrative, and this is where I plan to read, 8 or 10 paragraphs, but I think I'm going to have to stop for a moment on the threat narrative.
It catches you, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. They put it, look, folks, they put that shit in bold print. She's afraid of being physically harmed or sexually assaulted. That's what women think about when they're entertaining romance with a man. Of course it is, only I never heard a woman ever articulate that once in my life. If I was in a dating situation, getting to know somebody romantically, and and conversations came up about their fears. I'd say, well, I'm afraid of being abandoned. I have abandonment issues, or whatever the psychobabble term was of the day. But I'm afraid I never heard, hey, Paul, I really like you, but I'm afraid you're going to rape me. Is this how lame you go about injecting the threat narrative? And here's what these two guys are trying to do for you men and for your women that can listen to this. They are setting this up for the guy to internalize being a potential predator and making him modify his behavior in order to prove to her that he's not a rapist. This is right off the bat, early in this article, just fucked language for describing how the interplay, the dance between men and women as they come together.
And all of a sudden, this is where you get what I like to call nice guy syndrome.
Yes, I'm sure that they're very nice guys, especially Tucker Max. Who could be named Tucker Max and not be nice? I mean, you just have to be nice. Tucker, come on. I don't think there's ever been a rapist named Tucker. Well, maybe there has.
Oh my God.
But this is, again, that's in bold print. And what they're doing is they're bringing the sexual politics of feminism, the threat narrative that they hang around the necks of all men going into relationships, and saying that this is a part of her consciousness. These are two fucking dudes speaking for all women, and they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Because I assure you, if a woman has romantic interest in a man, her primary fear is not whether or not that he's going to beat the fuck out of her or rape her. That may happen at some point in relationships, but during that period of time, to assume that that is her state of being, her state of mind, is just, well, it's a lie.
Yeah, because she wouldn't take that chance otherwise. I mean, really? Realistically?
No, is it? No, I'm sorry.
She wouldn't take that chance. I mean, if she's looking at some guy and goes, wow, he's such a cutie, I think I'm going to go over to talk to him. And are you going to tell me that she's sitting over there talking to the guy going, is he going to rape me tonight?
No, and let's get even more honest here. I mean, if we really, really, really want to get honest about the nature of men and women, let's talk some truth here. For instance, about the fact that men who do appear to be very physically capable of violence, I'm not talking about men that are acting out violently, but men that are big and strong and have the appearance of doing physical violence, that makes a lot of women wet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It makes them soaking wet and makes them want to fuck his brains out.
Because he's capable of providing that aggression when she needs it.
Yep. And because, not only that, because he is demonstrating the capability to do the very thing that these guys are saying that women are afraid of. And for those of you who are going to quote mine that, go ahead. But the fact of the matter is that rape fantasies are very common in women. They're very, very common. That big, strong, athletic, powerful, aggressive men attract women in droves for a reason. And that frail, weak little guys who are more like Tucker don't attract so many women as do men who appear capable of violence. That is not justifying or condoning violence, but you cannot honestly try to assess the state of mind of most women without acknowledging the fact that potentially dangerous men gets their juices flowing. Like it or not, take it up with God, take it up with Darwin, take it up with your gender studies prof, take it up with whoever you want, but it's the truth. A pregnant pause.
I've got nothing else to add, man. Keep
why don't you
going.
read us some more and see let's see
Oh, okay, yeah,
the
sure.
rabbit hole of stupid these guys are capable of going.
Right now, you're probably thinking the same thing we did when we first learned about this when we were young men. I've never heard a woman in my life and never would. And we bet you're right. You are probably perfectly safe.
Probably.
Yeah, so let's make that assumption of the reader. But she doesn't know that. When she meets you, you could be Jack Ryan, Jack Sparrow, or Jack the Ripper.
Oh my God, the alliteration just fucking impresses. These guys must have been trained by Shakespeare. Anyway, sorry, James. Go ahead, please.
Any of these is equally likely. Even more terrifying is the fact that over the course of her life, the biggest threat to her is men she knows. Wait for it. I've got to say this. Is she going to be more scared of the guy right next door, or is she going to be more scared of the guy over in China?
Well, it depends on where you were on 9/11, dude. Oh, sorry. I just had to say that.
God. This, look, I could say the same thing. Out of the people that I know, or out of all the people in the world, the people that I fear the most are the people that I know or know of. If I'm ignorant about somebody's existence, how the fuck am I going to fear them?
You know what's really scary about this? These guys said that they had to learn this shit.
Oh, God.
They had to figure
30 years. 30 years.
You were more likely to get burned by somebody that had access to you than by somebody who didn't. Man, who's buying this?
Yeah. The overwhelming majority of women that suffer physical or sexual assault suffer at the hands of a man they know intimately, according to them.
Well, yes, that is according to them. There's a lot here according to them that I'm really, and God, we just started. I mean, we're going to have to bring in Evelyn Wood to help us out here, assuming she's not afraid we're going to beat her up and rape her, and try to get through this thing, because they have stacked, there's a whole book of this, and this is just one chapter, and it's already too long, and it's a lot longer than it actually is. And they say this is not some idle, irrelevant statistic. The overwhelming majority of women that suffer physical or sexual assault suffered at the hands of men they know intimately. Okay, well, considering that most of the violence between men and women would be termed as domestic assault, domestic violence, that would pretty much assume that they know each other. Oh, by the way, men are much more likely to be abused physically and sexually by women they know. This is a point looking for a hat to hang on it.
Exactly.
It means nothing. And it goes on. And their fears don't stop at physical harm. Of course they don't. Their fears don't stop at anything. They are just as vulnerable to social and emotional harm as well. Socially, you can spread lies about her or damage her reputation. James, stop me now.
All it takes is one word. All it takes is one word, and that's rape.
Yep.
That's it. And you know what? That one word will get your skull crushed out in the street, or in some countries, literally have you doused in gasoline, set in fire, and allowed to burn atop hot asphalt.
Yep. And there was a man I read about just 2 weeks ago in India that was accused of rape. A group of men drug him out to the street, used a machete to hack his genitals off, and laid him there to bleed to death in the street. Off the accusation. Look, Tucker and your buddy, Geoffrey, Tucker and Jeff, Jeff and Tuck, whatever. The thing that bothers me, and is going to continue to bother me about this piece all the way through, is the absolute abject indifference to men in the same and in worse situations. This is all about framing violence and harm and rape and domestic abuse and social abuse. And as somebody that's had a few lies told about me socially and on national level media, I can certainly sympathize with the damage that can cause. But for you two clowns to write about this as though it only happens to women, or as though that the only victims that matter are women, makes you bigots. It makes you pieces of shit. And I'll be glad when the day comes that society finishes its current process of waking up to this kind of garbage and seeing it for the bigotry that it is. I'm going to finish this last sentence in this paragraph, James, because it's another one I think deserves some real discussion. You can pretend to love her, they say, get her pregnant, and then abandon her. This is only the beginning of the harm she potentially faces at your hands. Let me make something perfectly clear. With women having every reproductive right that there is, the option to terminate pregnancies, the option to put babies up for adoption, drop them off at safe dropping points, at police stations, at hospitals, at fire departments, with 100 different options for birth control, and where men have no say whatsoever in what happens once somebody becomes pregnant. And I know what your guys' answers to this say, well, you don't have sex, or you put a condom on. Look, it doesn't happen that way. Women have the power and the control about reproduction. They have it, period. It's codified in law. If you don't understand that, look it up, try to educate yourself. But this is a harm she brings on herself. If I have sex with a woman and she gets pregnant and I did not intend to father a child and I believed that she was using birth control, I have every right to say, see ya. And I don't feel guilty about it. I don't feel guilty about it in the least. Women have the rights when it comes to birth control, but we're leaving off the part about responsibility. And to sit here and say that this is harm she potentially faces at your hands, what about her own choices? Are you so intent on infantilizing women, on making them little babies that can't make a decision without a man to stand by her and to take care of her based on whatever decision she makes? Are you really that intent on making women out to be these hapless idiots who can't make good choices or take care of their own lives? And it seems to me, sirs, that you are.
Obviously, they think of women as nothing more than objects. They are objects to be acted upon, objects to be fucked and bred, right? And then left. And those poor women have nothing to do with it at all.
You nailed it completely, James, and it's something I heard Dean Esme say a long time ago, and I've been seeing it ever since because it's true. You scratch a male feminist and you find a misogynist every time. You find a man who thinks women are children. You find a man who thinks women cannot take responsibility for their own actions. You find a man that does not believe that women have their own agency. You find a man that believes women have no autonomy and no responsibility. Look, guys, women are capable human beings. And imagine the irony of me, an MRA, coming from a place like A Voice for Men, telling two male feminists that women are adults and don't need to be treated like children. This is how bad feminism has got. And this is what they're writing. This is these sorry cucksuckers. This is their market. They're writing books just like Dr. Phil does, just like Robin Norwood, just like every other self-help book out there that has to do with men and women and relationships. They are picking the most victim-minded, vulnerable, irresponsible women and targeting them with a book that reinforces the idea that they have no agency and that they have no responsibility. Why? Because a lot of women buy that shit up. And that's exactly what's being sold.
And they're targeting those men who have been raised by these women with the same mindset and perpetuating that cycle.
I agree with you, but I got to tell you, I don't think these guys thought for a moment that a lot of men were going to read this book. This is a book written for women. It's not written. The cover says it's written for men. That doesn't mean that it's really written for men. This is like Good Men Project. They are purportedly a website about men, where all they do is cater to and talk about women, and that's exactly what's happening here. Let's move on to the next paragraph, James. I'm ready to do some damage. I've taken off the gloves and I'm getting out the brass knuckles.
I thought you did that already. You haven't done that yet?
No, man. Those are the bronze knuckles.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll move on to Wolverine style here pretty soon. We cannot emphasize this enough. Mating success requires cross-sex insight. You need to understand how women evaluate your qualities and how they perceive the status, danger, opportunities, and threats that you could present. Wait a minute. I guess I could pause it here.
Oh, we can't even.
Fuck me, we can't get anywhere, man.
We'll never get this finished.
Okay, look. I want you to look at how they put this. I'm going to name these 4 words off: status, danger, opportunities, and threats. Notice how they mixed them up. Now let's put the pro in one category, status and opportunities, and let's put danger and threats in the other category. Okay? And think about that for a minute. And what do you see?
More of the same blending of threat narrative and the shame sandwich that they're feeding men. And the bullshit about mating. Look, I make it no secrets. I think Roosh is a douche. I really do. I mean, and I know even a lot of my fellow MRAs don't share that opinion, and I'm fine with that. But I do think that he's a gynocentric pussy hound who focuses on pussy. And I will give him credit for one thing. If you want to know about mating success, go read his website. If mating with women, if sniffing out some tail is your grand goal in life, man, don't read this book. Don't buy this book. You can go to Roosh's website for free and hear all kinds of good stuff about attracting women. And he tells it like it is.
Status and opportunities.
Because
women, and opportunities, right?
Yep. And women, listen, guys, women don't give a fuck about cross-sex insight. That's bullshit. That's like this stuff, like women that get up on Oprah and say, oh, I want a nice, sensitive man. No, you don't, you lying bitch. You want a guy with a lot of money, a 9-inch cock that rides a Harley and makes you feel protected and secure, and who treats you with just enough indifference to keep you working at it. That's what most women want. Like it or not, you can be pissed off about it. But if these guys are pretending to talk about what women look for in terms of reproductive strategy, they are so far off the mark. This is like chimpanzees trying to do physics, folks.
He's got to smell like Old Spice too, right? Sorry, I couldn't help it. All I can see is look at me. Now look at your man. Now look back at me. Your man could be like the man I smell like. Now, the better you learn to see these things from women's points of view, the less unattractive you will be to them, and the less confused, resentful, and frustrated you will be by how they respond to you.
Wrong! Wrong, guys, wrong. The more that you put on fake empathy, the more that you try to say, oh, I feel your pain to women, the more they look at you like you're some sort of fucking weirdo that they want nothing to do with. Women are attracted to strength, confidence, individuality, and the ability to provide protection. That's what they're attracted to. These guys are trying to rewrite human biology with social justice narrative, and it is so lame. There's no way possible that it works. This is not what women are attracted to.
Let me put the square peg in the circular hole.
Yes, and if you just say things like, oh, I just love Gloria Steinem. Well, that'll get you laid. Sure it will.
Right.
Where? I don't know. I don't know if you're going to be pitching or catching. But
maybe at the next scum meeting they have in Australia. Who knows?
maybe so. But I tell you what, I've seen a whole lot, and I'm going to take this opportunity to say this because I love the truth in it. I've seen a whole lot of feminist women, and I've seen a whole lot of women who identify much more as anti-feminist or men's rights activists. Look, guys, we got the heat on our side. Just take a look and compare. I don't know how many of you would do Amanda Marcotte. Maybe the guys writing this book would, and maybe their lame lines would work on somebody like Marcotte. But this is horrifically bad bullshit. It's amazing what passes for credible, for authenticity and authority these days on things like relationships. This is just sad.
We're not suggesting you have to become a gender psychologist or feminize your whole worldview. You are a man, and women like men. Turning into a woman would make you less attractive to most women. Well, here we go.
Just fucking unsay everything they just said.
They just did. They absolutely fucked themselves in the ass with that. We're telling you to simply understand women. I can't do it.
I'm reminded it was actually a very funny movie. White Men Can't Jump. Woody Harrelson and Rosie Perez was in it, and this conversation between the two of them where she said, "I'm thirsty," and he said, "Well, hang on, I'll get you a glass of water." And she gets mad at him and says, "I don't want you to get up and fix the problem. I want you to say something with empathy, like, I too know what it feels like to be thirsty." And this was a tongue-in-cheek version of this stuff, folks. They weren't serious. And guys like Tuck and Jeff here take that kind of shit seriously. They think that's what women really want. No, actually, when you're thirsty, you want a fucking glass of water. And you don't have to be any kind of psychologist. I don't know what a gender psychologist is.
There's a YouTube video people need to look up. It's called "It's Not About the Nail."
Yes, that's very funny.
Okay, and just a brief description. Woman and a guy are sitting together. They are on a couch. The woman has a nail in her forehead. She's complaining that her head hurts. She feels bad. It aches. He looks over at her and he says, "Well, maybe you need to pull the nail out of your head." And she goes off on him and says, "Why are you always trying to solve the problem? Stop trying to solve the problem. Sometimes all I need is for you to talk to me." And she goes on and keeps complaining about the fact that when she puts her sweaters on, they get snagged and how everything is so bad. And he looks at her and tries to point at the nail, and she screams at him again. And finally, he says, "I'm sorry you feel so bad." And she's all gushy over it.
Oh, yes, of course. Like women really, I don't know where they get these women, James, honestly. But, all the women I've ever met in my life, all of them, I will say that all of them, get it? Every last one wanted problems fixed. If their air conditioning was broken, they didn't want to hear, "I too know what it feels like to be hot." They wanted the goddamn AC fixed. And men are the same way. If I say, "I'd like a sandwich," the last thing that I want to hear a woman say is, "I too know what it's like to want a sandwich." What I want to happen there is for her to get up and go make me a sandwich.
And once again, we can hearken this right back to your previous assessment. Women want men who are strong, capable, individualized, hold some type of social value. Why? Not so that he can sit there and empathize with her, but so he can reach over and yank the fucking nail out of her head. That's why.
Hope you don't mind a claw hammer, baby, but I'm tired of hearing about this nail. So we're going to fix it. Okay, we're simply telling you to understand women, and this for the simple reason that understanding the female perspectives helps you do much better with women. Right back to the gynocentrism. It ain't about choosing values. It isn't about choosing a woman based on anything about her intellect or what's important to her or shared interests. It's just this generic, going to help you do better with women. I know your dick likes that, so come on, let's keep reading. Whatever your goal, whether it's a one-night stand, a friend with benefits, a girlfriend, or a wife, it will help you avoid and resolve arguments, saving you hours of grief. Oh my God, these guys are pussies.
Yeah.
It will help you better.
We're just going to agree with her, right?
Yes.
I understand your perspective. Let me, sure, no, I understand you need some dick on the side, honey. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and here, guys, why not just skip through and cut to the chase and get to what these guys are really talking about? Just slap yourself on the forehead and go, well, what was I thinking, having my own perspective? Jesus, what's wrong with me? I must be male.
Should have had a V8.
No shit. It will help you. And it will also help your relationships with your mom, sisters, daughters, female friends, and co-workers. That's right, guys. Get on your knees. Forget about who you are. Forget about your spine. Forget about knowing yourself, your own values, your own boundaries, your own limitations. And listen to these guys who are here to help you. And I'm quoting, to stop acting like a self-sabotaging dick. So in other words, the presence of your boundaries, the presence of your own identity as a male, your willingness to disagree with a woman, your willingness to say no. And I've said this a million times, I'll say it again. Guys, you're only as mentally healthy as your ability to say no to a woman. If you can't say no to a woman, if you're like Jeff and Tuck here, and all you think about is how do you deliver yes in the correct way so that they'll approve of you, then just admit to yourself that you like life on your knees. And because you know what? You'll be missing out a lot. There's a lot of women that hate guys like that. There are women reading this article that are saying, oh my God, I wouldn't touch either one of these guys with a 10-foot pole. Who would be interested in this kind of weenie? And it's the truth. They won't be interested. These guys are telling you how to fail with women.
Yeah.
Your turn, James?
Oh, I'll keep going. To be clear, the insights in this chapter are not a collection of opinions and moralizing lessons.
Bullshit. Excuse me. Sorry.
They are based on the best current scientific knowledge that we have about women's psychology and sex differences. We'll also focus on women's vulnerabilities, concerns, and anxieties that you might not have considered before.
Like you're going to rape them and beat them.
Because these are aspects of the female experience that have long stood between men and a greater understanding of and success with women. Oh, God. Here we go. Subtitled, She is tired of being objectified, so subjectify her instead. This is going to be fun. Go to a sports bar in any major city or college town on game day, and invariably you will run into a crew of gorgeous young women in skin-tight cut-off referee outfits or school jerseys, walking around selling shot specials or beer buckets. This is how everything, not just liquor, is sold to men. Hand tools, shampoo, Doritos, porn, cars. All of them are shamelessly as beautiful, scantily clad women with big boobs, tight asses, and long legs as the vehicles to deliver the message. And it works. Why, yes, it does.
Another gold star.
Why, yes, it does. It does work. The problem from a mating perspective, besides the obvious ethical ones, is that normal women feel this objectification acutely. Sorry, I just had to put that feel out there. On the one hand, the media have established an unrealistic expectation of beauty for them to live up to, and this makes them insecure. On the other hand, this expectation has created in women the belief that most guys care only about a woman's boob to ass to leg ratio, which is a recipe for resentment and distrust.
Let's get clear on one thing. Their use of the word normal women here, compared to the one who have breasts and trim waists and round asses and a nice boob to ass to leg ratio. What they're talking about are the women with no tits, or the women that have tits but they're 150, 200 pounds overweight. That's what they're saying by normal. And that is not to say, look, folks, again, these guys talk, why James laughed when they even said the word scientific. There are formulas for attraction that are scientific, particularly with the hip to waist ratios, and then there's a matter of symmetry in faces for both men and women that make people what human beings consider to be more attractive or less attractive. It doesn't make people who are less attractive inferior, but the reason that you have these things working to sell everything from Jell-O shots to porn to cars is because of the scientific reality of attraction. It is because that is, men are attracted to big, reproductively viable, big-breasted, nice round-ass women. That's what people like. That isn't making anybody feel insecure. I mean, hey, I don't think I've ever met a guy in my life that wouldn't like to improve one thing or another about himself, whether he wanted another couple of inches on his cock, or whether he wanted some bigger biceps, or a stronger chin, all that stuff. Men have that too. We just don't run around saying, oh man, the world's against me. There's this guy, this bartender in there, and he has like huge biceps, and he's just like perfectly bod, and it's like he shouldn't be there. He shouldn't be selling. They should have me there instead. Guys don't do that. And you know why? Because we don't have fucktards like Tuck and Jeff teaching us this way to think. And this is a terrible disservice that they're doing to women, to teach them to feel victimized by the human beauty standard. Look, it's not a media beauty standard. It's not an industry beauty standard. It's a human beauty standard. It always has been, like it or not. Again, Take it up with God or take it up with Darwin, but take it the fuck out of here. Because this is selling.
Men like nice birthing hips and good milk sacks to feed the kids with.
Hey, there's reasons behind that. It's sort of like why we survived and really excelled as a species.
Imagine that.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but if we went for really weak men and women that couldn't feed children, we would have been just another dead-end evolutionary.
Absolutely. We were all fucking 600-pound sloths, we would have been in trouble out there on the Serengeti.
We would have made some good meals for something.
I know.
That would have about it. But okay, here's the thing, though. Okay, they got a thing. They're going to tell us what it is here. When women say "don't objectify me," they don't mean you're never allowed to look at my boobs or notice my butt. Actually, they kind of like their boobs, because these guys make up their fucking minds for 1 minute about anything. Yes, women like their boobs and their butts, and hope you do too. If you're a good guy, and you also appreciate their other features, like their eyes or their opinions. James, please help.
I guess eyes and opinions are on the same level there.
Yeah, it reminds me of a meme I saw.
And you know what? I'm going to put it straight. If anybody comes up to me with an opinion, I'm going to like it, or I'm not going to. If I don't like it, I'm going to do one of two things. I'm going to tell them I don't like it and provide them with my own opinion, or I'm going to ignore the fuck out of them.
Or you could go the route of Tuck and Jeff and pretend to like their opinion. In other words, lie to them, practice dishonesty, and then telling them truth that you like their tits and they're, oh yeah, your opinion, yeah, whatever, it's great. Can we fuck now? This
Hey, I love your tits and ass, and you have great views on 300-pound sloths on the Serengeti. Let's fuck.
Yes. I love your knowledge of the post-Lentil system of architecture in ancient Greece. It's just fascinating. Now, can I get a blowjob, please? When people are thinking about sex, and this includes you ladies, by the way, it's not, you're not thinking about the guy's opinion. I can't tell you how many women that have told me when I asked them what they liked in men, they said they like them big and stupid.
Yeah, they just want to get no, because they just want to get railed. I mean, come on.
They want to feel adequately stuffed, and that's it. That doesn't mean that more deeper human interactions don't happen, but you guys are conflating the subject here. When it's base human psychology, base attraction, you know what? Dick matters, ass matters, tits matter, face matters. What attracts you matters between human beings. And if you can't handle that, how on earth can you have written a book purporting to actually help people? To attract women, they say you must be able to take their point of view and think of them not as marketing vehicles to objectify, but as living, thinking, feeling individual human beings. How condescending can these guys, that's why I'm saying, James, this is not written for men. It's not. This is written for women. This is written to validate the opinions of idiotic women who believe that men don't see them as living, thinking, feeling individual humans. It is reinforcing bigoted ideas, stupid ideas, and this is meant, I bet you if we could do the research on all 350 copies of this book that will sell, that we would find that 340 of them were bought by women and the other 10 were bought by men who felt like they had no other way to success with women.
I have this thought in my head that's trying to put itself together. I'm having a little bit of trouble here. You've got this woman, she has an idea, she's coming up, she's talking to you about the idea, essentially marketing the idea. You're looking at her thinking, I would like to fuck her. So what do? You're going to allow her to sell you on the idea. That's what they want, right? Mm-hmm. So that way you can get with her. Wait a minute, didn't you just view them as a marketing vehicle to objectify?
Of course. We're right back to Roosh again, in very thin disguise. What they're saying is, let's say you're a Republican. I wouldn't necessarily wish that on anybody, but let's say you are. And let's say that you meet a really attractive woman that's a Democrat. I wouldn't necessarily wish that on anyone, but let's say they are a Democrat. What they're saying is, pretend to be a Democrat. What they're saying is that no matter what she says, that I think that we should raise taxes and redistribute wealth all over society to make sure that crackheads have enough crack to smoke. That what you're supposed to do is see her point of view on that in order to be successful. One, there may be a little truth to that, but two, if you're going to sell yourself out like that, if you're going to violate your own values or actually prove that you have none to get a piece of ass, aren't you really objectifying her in the most pure and vilest of ways?
And hold on, I have to go back to this, one of the previous paragraphs. Whatever your goal, whether it's a one-night stand, a friend with benefits, a girlfriend, or a wife, If you're doing that with a one-night stand, you're an idiot. If you're doing that to find a wife, you have just fucked yourself for the rest of your life.
Very well said. Look, folks, what James is saying, and I'm not assuming you don't understand it, but I just want to maybe paraphrase it in a different way, is that what he's saying is that if you adopt this strategy, because every woman you meet and are attracted to and who shares that attraction...
You're breaking up just a little bit, Paul. Can you wiggle a cord or something?
Yeah, is that better?
Nope.
Uh-oh.
You sound like your scratchy record.
How about that?
Nope, still sound like your scratchy record.
Wow, man, that sucks.
I mean, I can understand what you're saying. It just sounds like your scratchy record.
Is this any better?
Absolutely not.
Oh, boy. Man, we're in trouble here. How did this happen?
I have no idea.
I have a good microphone. I'm directly wired into a very high-speed modem, and it's still, I blame Google. Well, I'm just going to talk through it.
Go for it.
Hopefully it'll correct. What James is saying here, folks, is that everybody you meet and develop a romantic interest in has the potential to become a long-term relationship. There's no doubt about that. You don't know when you're going to meet the next Ms. Supposedly right. And if you go into that by sacrificing your point of view and adopting hers from the beginning, how do you think she's going to feel in 6 months when you get a little bit tired of that shit and start speaking your own mind? You're going to end up in hell. And it's going to be that way forever and ever until the end of the relationship. Guys, take me seriously. Never sacrifice your points of view, your opinions, what you think, what you feel, what you believe ever to anybody else, not to any other woman, not to any other man, because you end up being their slave.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Now, here we go. You still there, Paul? Oh, did we lose you? We lost him. We lost Paul. Folks, we're going to give it just a second here. See if I can get hold of him. Just let him know we lost him on Skype. Hopefully you got the message. We're going to go ahead and keep on going, though. All right? Here we go. Objectifying women isn't just a moral failure.
Oh, I think we're back.
Oh, you sound beautiful. I was just about to go on. I was going to start with the next paragraph, but if
yeah,
you want...
by all means. I think I made my point. Hopefully they got it, and if they didn't, we'll figure out other ways to say it.
Okay. Here, I'll start it out right here. If you want to guarantee marketing failure, all you have to do is think of her as nothing more than an inanimate object, as an 8 or a 9, or a simplistic robot with a set of triggers and hot buttons to manipulate. Wow. At that point, you've reduced your customer to nothing more than a cash dispenser, or since we're talking about objectifying women, a sex dispenser. Well, you know, once again, not those short-term goals. And if you are, if you're only attempting to take her point of view for those short-term goals, don't do what these guys are telling you. Find something out there with a little bit of quality. Actually take the time to put yourself out there in a very real manner. And find a woman that way. Chances are you're going to be a whole hell of a lot happier.
You know, it occurs to me, James, that the big problem, and this is why this book is such a fraud, it's such a bunch of hokum, is that the biggest problem we have in the community of men is that they're already doing what these guys are advising without being told.
Yeah, they've been taught for a long time now to do this. We've got 3, close to 4 generations of men who this has been pushed on.
Yeah, they're not selling this to men. They're selling this to women to try to continue this narrative. And another thing about this that really bothers me, and it insults me. I'm 14 years into what I will unabashedly and unashamedly call a loving relationship. 14 years with the same woman. I know lots of men, long-term relationships with the same woman, married men. These guys love their wives. These guys love their wives. They see them as human beings. They see them as individuals, and they treat them as such. And they, in fact, most all of them, spend their lives in some part or another in one form of sacrifice and hardship or another in order to make the lives of those women easier than they have it. It, to me, is just beyond the pale of any human being looking at the actual real state between most men and women, and in most marriages and relationships, and even short-term hookups, that actually believe that there is a preponderance of men out there that need to be told this kind of crap. Sure, there's always, just like there's rapists, a small fraction of men rape, a fraction of women rape. There is sexual predators, there are people who are violent, there are people who are sociopathic and abusive, but they do not characterize the whole human race. They shouldn't be able to sell enough of this book to make any kind of money at it at all, because there's just not that many people that need to be told this stuff. But again, that's not the purpose of this book. The purpose of this book is to tell women that they're inferior, that they're victims, that they need men to take care of them, and that they don't have any agency. That keeps them in a perpetual state of refusing to accept responsibility for their own actions, which is unfortunately what we are breeding into today's women in alarming numbers, that they can do whatever they want. They can do whatever they please. They can make a false accusation. I mean, somebody makes a big false accusation, it turns into a nightmare for Rolling Stone. And what do the feminists come out and say? Well, it could have been true, and whether it really happened or not isn't the point. The point is that people need to, the awareness needs to be raised. This is the level
discussion. I love this. The discussion needed to be had.
Yes. What discussion? There was no rape. When there's a real rape, yes, have a discussion. But when you're lying, when you're making up a party that never happened, where a gang rape occurred that never happened, like Rolling Stone reported on, the fact that there are women and men like these two clowns, now I don't know if they did it personally, but it would not surprise me, coming out and saying, well, even if she lied, even if lives were destroyed, even if that fraternity's reputation was destroyed, even if people were academically harmed, it was an important discussion to have. And these motherfuckers started out quoting Atticus Finch. Holy Christ.
You know, what the real cynic in me wants to say, though, that when these women pick up this book and they read it, and their life gets no better for having read it, it's simply going to send them back to the bookstore to pick up the next book. It's like diet books. It is precisely. We all know from medical science that diets don't work. By and far, in general, I mean, you can lose weight by changing your eating. You can change your lifestyle and do a lot better losing weight. But in terms of diets, diet books don't work. Self-help books like this don't work. They don't do anything any good. What they end up with is women in their mid-40s with one toothbrush hanging in the stand in the bathroom, sitting there eating a microwave dinner next to their 7 cats, wondering why no man will put up with them. That's what it ends up with. And that's what these two clowns are leading women to. It's a disgrace. Now, here we go. You are a young, relatively inexperienced gay man. You're single. It's Friday night after a long week, and you've decided to go out and have some fun. You and some friends decide to check out a new gay bar. that you have heard has a lot of hot guys. You walk in, you encounter an overwhelming sea of men. These guys are all as tall as NBA players, as muscular as NFL linebackers, and as sexually aggressive as a felon on his first night out of jail. They are all bigger, stronger, faster, and hornier than you. Their heads all swivel towards you, and their eyes look you up and down like sexual terminators. Okay, so I understand what these guys are trying to do with this. They're trying to put the man who's reading this into a effeminate form, waiting to be victimized. And they're trying to say, how would you feel if you walked out like that? Well, you know what? Most of these women that are walking into these bars, because trust me, if they were that fucking scared, they wouldn't be going to the bars. Instead, we've got all these motherfucking articles on,
I go out to the bars, but there's no guys anymore. Where are they?
bullshit. These women are going into these bars and they're looking. They are looking for those great big tall NBA motherfuckers, all muscular like NFL linebackers. And yeah, sure, a few of them might look you up and down like they're sexual terminators, but you know what? They went to the bar for a fucking reason.
Of course.
And I promise you it wasn't to play Parcheesi.
I would like to take a chance on answering their question. If I went into a bar and there was a bunch of really beefed up, muscled up hunk guys, jocks to the hilt, and they all turned and started looking at me lecherously, I would probably feel a moment's sadness that I wasn't gay, because that would feel like a fucking candy. The other thing is that I really got to tell you, I don't have much sympathy for this argument for another reason. How many times do you go into bars and you see women that come in alone or as a group of women, they're wearing clothes where their tits are hanging out everywhere? And no, ladies, I'm not saying that's a reason you should be raped, but they're wearing clothes to enhance themselves sexually.
Mm-hmm.
And the only time they get pissed off is when a guy looks them up and down that they're not attracted to.
Or
if it was the goddamn linebacker, it would be like, hi.
Or when the guy doesn't buy them the next drink.
What they're feeding into, and here's another phenomenon that I think is involved with this, James, and we see it in slut walks. And the slut walks, by the way, if you've not seen one, slut walks is where they put 4 really attractive women in front of the camera and then a bunch of dogs behind them in a line to make it look like the parade of really hot chicks.
Wait.
What it really is a parade of cellulite and personality.
Oh my God. If you have seen this slut walk, it's like looking at overstuffed sausage in fishnet.
Yes. It sort of gives you that feeling of a goddamn bratwurst that's been left out a little too long.
they shove themselves in fishnet.
But
you can see the cellulite poking through.
Are attacking sexuality. When a woman comes into a room that is dressed to sexually and made up to sexually enhance herself, to be attractive to men, you don't get to bitch when men look at you. I mean, obviously, in feminist theory, you get to bitch no matter what is happening and no matter what your role in it. But if you dressed sexually to enhance your sexual attributes, if you're an attractive woman and you doll yourself up, make yourself really look good, put on nice perfume, the whole ball of wax, do your hair, and go in and then get pissed off that men look at you, you don't need feminism. You need a fucking therapist.
Chris Rock put it very well when he was talking about if, he sees all these women dressed like this going into a bar, and he goes up to a woman and he's making his moves, and she's like, I may be dressed like this, but I'm not a whore. And he's like, well, you're wearing a whore's uniform. What if I was walking around dressed like a cop? People would be come running up to me, expecting me to help shit out. Am I supposed to stay there? No, get away from. I may be dressed, I may be dressed like this, but I'm not a cop.
Let me correct you before the commenters come in, because they're going to flood in that now and correct you and say that was not Chris Rock, it was Dave Chappelle.
Oh, it was Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
I'm so bad. I'm horrible.
And then now you don't get to correct him.
You're right.
I just know there's like 20 frustrated guys out there right now. I want to tell him it's not. He's wrong. It's not Chris Rock. Because that's sometimes.
I stand corrected.
Okay, well, you terrible person, you.
I know.
Okay, you haven't even met them, but you can see the gears turning behind their hinds. Any one of them could grab you, carry you out of the bar. I mean, this is all. I'm just going to skip this part a little bit, James, because this is all just more of the bullshit threat narrative. Men are dangerous. Men are rapists. Men are not to be trusted, and we need to honor women's feelings that we're all a bunch of immoral.
Let's not talk about bouncers or screaming.
No. Yeah, I tell you what. I will say this. You think that shit's real? You think that stupid ass shit that they're saying is real? Go to yourself to a bar. Walk in, find an attractive woman grab her and start dragging her out and see what happens.
Every motherfucking guy in there will turn you into paste.
On your ass. Your face will be hamburger.
You will be turned into a fine pink mist from all the fists that come at you. Yes.
So, God, just skip it, guys. Just skip it, guys. Oh my God, this is really good. Can we, no, more of it's, I don't know if the rest of this just goes into threat narrative, but we're never going to get all this done. So if you don't mind, I'm going to skip to the next section, which is still not even quite halfway through this piece of shit article.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
The subheader here is she's been dealing with creepy douchebags for a long time. Of course, because men are creepy douchebags, right? And women.
But you can be that one good man, right?
No, except for us guys writing this article. Can you have some pussy now? A woman can tell how well your life is going from how you look in about 2 seconds. Oh, really? Okay. Your face and body are leaking. Leaking? Who taught these guys to write? Are leaking all kinds of cues about your sexual experience, self-confidence, and personality. And she can see it all in one glance.
Wow, women are such great judges of character. I guess that's why they never choose the bad boys. Oh, wait.
And that's the thing. What happened to all this shit about getting to know somebody and fucking taking up their side of the opinion and all of this?
They don't have to do that. They can go right from the start, man. It's you that needs to conform, not them.
Before you approach her, she's already decided whether she wants you to talk to her, and she's already judged your mate value, your status before you toss the first layer. It sounds like she's objectifying them.
Imagine that.
Oh my God!
Wait.
Cry now, James.
Hey, and you know what? She can smell your over-practiced pickup artist tricks from a mile away.
Oh,
really?
Derpy pickup lines.
Really?
It's like her superpower. Yep.
All women have it. All women have it.
Yes, all women have omniscience, is what they're saying. And you are not even a mere mortal. You're a man. You would have to take a step up.
It sounds amazingly like the divine feminine. These guys may have just hit the nail on the head, dude.
I did. Well, it's not about the nail. Okay? It's not about the nail. I don't want to talk about the nail. Damn, my head hurts.
So they move on and they say this is the female reality of living in sexual fear. She's afraid of creeps, weirdos, crazies, losers, and stalkers. Oh yeah, we're afraid of bitches that will cut cold and gold dig us. So what? You know, courageous individuals will strike out to meet one another, and those who decide to live in fear, well, those are going to be the ones who, like you said, Paul, end up eating next to their 7 cats.
Yep, and they're welcome to have it too. I mean, look, guys, understand fear of incarceration, fear of loss of finances and loss of freedoms. Those are like called rational fears. That's not paranoia. They go on further to say the psychological research, for instance, shows that from a woman's point of view, most guys she meets will be less kind, less agreeable, less empathic, less conscientious, less reliable, less clean, less everything really than she and her friends are. My, where have I heard this before? Oh yeah, it was by rural white people in the 1950s and 60s talking about blacks.
Sure thing.
So in other words, they're saying psychological research confirms that women are bigots. Guess what? I think that psychological research, which is not referenced here for some reason, I don't know. They just didn't produce a study, or I don't know where to find this information, but I'm putting a shout out now, especially to you two clowns who wrote this shit. Find me the research that says that is the general perception of women. I'm not saying it.
Oh, dude, they're feminists. It's not their job to educate you.
Oh yeah, that's right.
regardless of the fact that they have over 30 years of experience in education.
Well, they have 30 years of experience in girl fields.
Yeah, that's right.
But this is apparently what they're saying, and I'm not twisting this. This isn't taken out of context. I read you exactly what was there. That what they are saying is that most women will look at a man and decide he stinks. Folks, is this bigotry? If
The highest order.
That is no. I suggest getting your head examined.
I'm going to move on to the next subheader.
Yes, please do, because we'll never. This thing is torches. Again, I want to remind you folks, subscribe to AVFM. You owe us for this. Look at what we're doing for you right now. This is horrible.
She's probably just not that into you, and you need to be okay with that. The average guy finds the average woman at least somewhat sexually attractive. Yes, because we all think with our dicks. Think about it. The next time you're walking down the street or hanging out in a mall or student union, ask yourself seriously, what % of these women would I be willing to have sex with right now if it was safe, easy, consensual, and no strings attached?
In other words, how fucking human are you guys? Considering that we don't survive without procreation, just a little factor in there they didn't seem to mention.
If you're like most young guys, the answer would be well over 70%. Including the moms and the older women. For some of you freaks, especially including them.
For some of you freaks. So if you're a young man and you're attracted to a 35 or 40-year-old woman, then you're a freak. You hear that, 35, 40-year-old women? Hear that, cougars? You are the object of freaks and nothing else. That's all you're worth.
Yeah, let's never mind women who seem to have some ageless beauty about them, like Linda Carter. There's a huge difference.
Oh yes, there is lots and lots of beautiful older women. I think Helen Mirren's pushing 70. She's still gorgeous.
Yep.
I don't like her politics, but she is attractive.
Mm-hmm.
I guess since I'm younger than her, that makes me a freak.
You must be.
I must be. Okay. I'll live with that. I will take the advice of the authors and I'll be okay with that.
And of course, they go on to try to cite, this is a huge sex difference in initial choosiness, documented in both scientific research and online dating data that plays out in every domain of sex and dating. You know, there might be some grain of truth to that. Women have a tendency to choose for big, strong, status, opportunity. There's those words again. Where men, right from the start, have a tendency to go, wow, she's got very nice birthing hips and some really nice milk sacs.
Oh, well, exactly right. I tell you what, you can have a room full of women sitting there with husbands that they are very much in love with and faithful to and committed, and then let ugly ass Mick Jagger walk in the room and watch those heads turn like they're on swivels.
Yep. Status.
It
Opportunity. Bam. Just like that.
So at least men are attracted to something that is innate in women. At least they're attracted to the woman themselves. Women are attracted, on the other hand, most frequently to what a man has gathered externally.
Yep.
So tell me if you're going to point to one of those, and I don't point to either of them and say they're shallow, because I think this is human nature. Women are attracted based on what they're wired to be attracted to. Finding fault in that is ridiculous. So the same is true for finding fault in men, for being attracted to, yes, the guys are right. Maybe the young man will find 70% of the women in that room fuckable and would have no problem having sex with over 70%. And with the women, it's going to be a much smaller number because they are going to pick the higher status, more capable of protection and provision in the crowd. That's those small percentages.
And usually that pickiness does in fact take a little bit of time.
Yes.
So I mean,
no, James, you forgot. Women know in 3 seconds.
That's right. Oh God.
And I'm sorry if I insulted all women by saying it was 3 seconds. Maybe it was 2. 1.5, and I should adjust my worldview so that I won't offend them.
There you go. It'll get you laid. God. Moving on to the next subheader. She already knows she's pretty, and she's still self-conscious.
Go to fucking therapy then. If you're pretty and you're self-conscious, then you have emotional problems.
Shall we move on to the next one? I don't know.
Can we try to find one that's not just so utterly stupid?
I'm just reading them how they come, dude.
I know. Well, how about this one? Here's one. This looks like it might be interesting. Let me do this subheader in a couple of paragraphs and see if we come up with something interesting, because I'll be honest with you, by this point, this is parts of the article I have not read. I read through about this far earlier. When I was done throwing up, I cleaned up and had to get ready for the show. But this is the part I haven't read. I don't know what I'm about to read. She is worried about her social status, and you're a big part of that. In other words, she doesn't have her own social status. You're part of her social status. Just like males compete against other males for resources that matter to males, females compete against other females for resources that matter to them. Typically, female-female competition in other animals is more about food, territory, or resources required to reproduce.
And one of those resources is males.
Yeah. A competitive mating market with a limited number of attractive, desirable males that all the women want, then women are going to compete against each other to get and keep those males. And they're going to use any tactics that work. In other words, they're immoral. And but it's sort of a by any means necessary statement here. Seduction, manipulation, gossip. Oh, these guys have a wonderful opinion of women.
They sure do.
Physical violence, verbal violence, anything that works to get those guys and make them stick around. In
Holy
other words,
crap.
They're telling us now that women are totally and completely amoral.
They're fucking psychopaths. Hey, I'll tell you what, Paul. I am going to go stick my dick in this woman that I just met and who I've agreed with wholeheartedly, even though I don't agree with her wholeheartedly, even though I have just been told that she is an amoral psychopath. That's what these guys are saying.
Yep. That's the message. And you know what? There is some truth to this. There is in reproductive strategy, there is, men do it too. Hook or crook, stab their brothers in the back. We've seen it all the time.
Yep.
Gynocentrism, which is what this article is more about than anything else, is a bear. And if you don't understand gynocentrism, you cannot understand men or women, period. End of story. I think that's worth saying again, so I'm going to say it again. If you don't understand gynocentrism, you can't understand the sexes, neither men nor women. You'll have no hope of doing that. And what they're talking about here is gynocentrism. But where I think they carry it too far is that they made a blanket statement about all women, that they're just immoral slugs. And they'll do anything to grab the biggest dick in the room and to have control over it. And then recommending to men that these are the people whose opinions and ideas and attitudes you need to empathize with. Fuck you. Sorry, had to do that. I'm trying to cut down on the fuck yous.
Yeah, that's okay.
Take him over because he's really good at fuck yous, but I had to throw that in. That was just worth a fuck you. It just was.
You're going to read this sentence out. For example, it might seem weird to men that female competition would ever involve something as arbitrary as the specific brands of high-heeled shoes or handbags that the women wear and carry. So they're vapid and inane on top of that, right, Paul? They are vapid, inane psychopaths.
Like I said, scratch a male feminist, you find a misogynist. Every time. Every time. There are no exceptions. Man, I tell you what, look, folks, oh my God, this is getting, these are guys with serious pent-up resentments at women. And how ironic is it that two MRAs, longtime MRAs, I mean, James has been around for a long friggin' time doing this, so have I, that we are having to sit here and to defend women against stereotypes that make them to be psychopaths and sociopaths and manipulative, dangerous people. That those ideas being furthered by two male feminists. How the irony in this is like, 2 hours after a bad Mexican meal.
Oh God!
It just burned.
Taco hell.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. We're gonna go ahead and move the next one. She's terrified of pregnancy, abandonment, and STDs.
I don't care. If she doesn't want pregnancy, she has 1,000 options. If she doesn't want abandonment, she can act like a decent fucking human being and keep a decent man around. And if she doesn't want STDs, doing the first two things will take care of that too.
I mean, these guys have pretty much laid out that all these vapid psychopaths have all the power and they're omniscient. Okay? So why would they fear abandonment?
Well, if you look at it from the sense of understanding borderline personalities, what they do is and believe me, this is written for borderline personality females. This is a nice big market, the victim market. Generally, most of them are personality disordered. Independent, strong women won't have shit to do with a book like this. By the way, I'm going to mention, I want to say hi to Paula Wright. Had a little Twitter flame up with her today. Not too bad. I mean, she was generally a pretty decent person. I think she was, doing the right thing. But she was, and this is what I'm talking about, she was, I thought, an intelligent, somewhat insightful woman that read this and felt it was tweet-worthy, and said something to the effect that every man who wants to understand women should read this. Way to go, Paula. What can I say? I don't know if you actually read the whole thing, if you got to the part where you're basically being called a psychopath with no conscience. But I just wanted to give a shout out to you because I said I was going to talk about this on the radio program tonight. And so I have brought it up and done my duty. Thank you very much. And sorry for the diversion, James. Where were you going with this next?
No, I think I pretty much covered it there. I mean, we've got that subheader there, and here we go. She's just as frustrated by dating as you are. Now, I'm going to have to delve into that just a little bit.
Yeah, please hang on just a second. I need my my oozing, tearful empathy meter to tap down just a little bit so that I can listen. Okay, I'm all right.
Okay. Even apart from women's physical vulnerability, sexual reputation, anxieties, oh, she doesn't want to be called a slut, and practical physical needs, she wants to get fucked but not be a slut. Women's minds evolved to be different from men's minds. They evolved to want different things at different times. What?
Yes, I think they're trying to politely to say that women are capricious, but
So they're capricious, inane psychopaths. Here we go. Man, we're just loading them up, aren't we?
It's like this is soft pitch, softball, and they've given us an oversized bat.
What they're doing in this article is they're telling every single guy that reads it how to kowtow to what they believe are all the wrong qualities that they should be supporting in women.
Or, if I may be so bold, is to suggest a better title for the book: How to Bend Over and Take It Up the Ass from a Borderline Cunt.
Wow.
I think it's a great how-to guide.
I think so.
Man.
Yes, every beautiful, bright woman knows she could seduce almost any man for a quick fuck, but that is rarely what she wants. Oh, God. I'm moving on. I've got to. She has sexual fantasies just like you do, except she gets a bunch of shit for hers.
I got to interrupt for a second there and say that that's accompanied by a nice photo, and I would definitely tap it. But
he must work out.
Oh my God, how fucking insane do you got to be to think that they get shit for their sexual fantasies? Guys live for women with sexual fantasies.
Oh God.
They fucking live for women that are kinky and nasty and want to do it all. And it's like they get shit.
And it's not like it's the men that are giving them the shit. It's the women that are giving them the shit.
It is. It's women that are giving them the shit for it. Why? Because
they're the competition.
How attractive they are to a lot of guys.
Because the women who have those fantasies, who are willing to explore, and who feel free to express themselves, are fucking competition. It is mostly women out there who are screaming to the heavens,
"Oh, she's such a slut!"
Or it's the guys who are like, "Oh my God, that's just horrible." Oh.
Yeah, those are the guys that have the fucking like king size double chested drawers porn collection stuck away with locks on it, and then come on television and say, "Oh, that's just horrible." Sure. One thing I do want to point out to some of you feminists out there: you're not getting shit for your sexual fantasies. Your sexual fantasies are really nice and entertaining and stimulating. What you're getting shit for is writing, "This is not an invitation to rape across your tits," and walking in College Park in a slut walk. You'll get shit for that, because that's like not sexy. It is just so totally not sexy.
No, it's not sexy at all.
Nothing sexy about it. Oh my God, man, that girl's pretty fine though. I'll give her that. Give me my gynocentric moment here. I'm allowed to have them. Jesus Christ, this is like a long hour. All right. Next one is. Oh, we got some fapping going on. Fap alert! Fap alert! Fap alert! Danger! Hide the children. Okay, practice perspective taking. Oh, doesn't this sound? Do I need to pick up my amethyst crystal?
This is going right back to looking at things through the subjective lens.
Yeah,
that's what this is doing.
Her subjective lens.
Right.
You should now have a much better grasp on the issues. Yeah, that was so informative. I have a much better grasp on the issues after having read that shit. Women deal with on a day-to-day, hour-to-hour week-to-week basis.
Oh my God, their lives are such a grind.
It's really, really fucking hard being a woman in modern Western North American culture. It's a fucking nightmare. I mean, God, some of them don't have money to go to university from daddy. It's like I said.
Holy crap. You mean they might actually have to go and get one of hundreds of female-only scholarships and grants?
Well, either that or they could get a job, but that's okay. They don't want to do that, though, because they only make 77 cents on a dollar for men after taking off twice as much time. Let's see now, uncertainty about and threats to their physical, emotional, and social safety surround them. You get that at a general level, but what about specific individual female level? Ooh, now we're getting deep, 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 deep. I like deep stuff. How do you grow your insights into her point of view? How do you subjectify her? You do it by practice perspective taking. Next time you're in a class or sitting in a Starbucks, pick out a woman in the crowd, a pretty classmate, a customer, the barista. Notice that we're going right now for the looks. Pick out the good-looking bitch in the group, yep. And for a few minutes, imagine yourself in her skin. Shit, well, I'd be playing with myself. But
wait a minute. I thought we just got through with the whole fantasy thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd find my inner lesbian very quickly. Imagine yourself in the skin in the most non-Silence of the Lambs way possible. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God. Come on, guys. Come on. Did you really go there? I mean, listen, you're making Godwin's Law look weak.
Like we casually sit around, like we're all casually sitting around looking at the prettiest women going, ooh, her liver with some fava beans, you know? I mean, that they have to remind us not to do that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because I was thinking.
And a nice Chianti.
I was thinking about her lungs with a nice Chianti. Okay, so here's the questions you need to ask yourself, and these are worth going through, I suppose. What is something unique to her life and central to our identity that is impossible for me to know just by looking at her? Well, all kinds of shit. I mean, there's a whole lot of shit that's impossible to know just by looking at somebody, Einstein. I don't know how to answer that. I'm not trying to be sarcastic with that even. It's a stupid question. 2, what are the potential threats around her in this place right now? Chances are none, or she wouldn't be there. What does she think about all the guys in there? Sorry, I don't read mine, and I don't particularly care what she thinks about all the guys. If I'm interested in her, I might be interested in what she thinks about me.
And just on a statistical point, I got to go back to this, just on a statistical point. What are the potential threats around her in this place right now? It wouldn't be the people that I'm looking for. It would be the slippery when wet sign. It would be the bolt missing over the light fixture. It would be whether or not the gas is being properly valved in the kitchen. I mean,
it might be the drunk that hops the curb and drives through the middle of the Starbucks.
I mean, this is the kind of ridiculousness here. When they say, what are the potential threats around her, what they expect you to say is all the guys that are there. When statistically, she has a much greater chance of breaking her own fucking neck trying to take that curb in her fucking 6-inch high heels, wearing that tight-ass miniskirt.
Or she could be a victim of manspreading.
Oh, God, yeah. That's
okay, so what is the likelihood? Oh, this fucking Observer website, one of the things that really shitty websites do, I just want to let everybody know, is that they auto-refresh. And that's the way they con their advertisers out of more money by creating more page impressions. We'd never do anything like that at A Voice for Men. They used to do it at Good Men Project. We harassed them for a while about it. Yes, harassed them. We went public with their habit of auto-refreshing because people got tired of getting halfway through making comments only to have the page refresh and lose everything they had typed. But this site, observer.com, basically auto refreshes, and that is another word for that is fraud. It is creating the impression that it's getting a lot more views than it actually is. What is the likelihood she thinks I'm among the most attractive guys here? Well, if I'm in her skin, then she's going to think I am the only attractive guy there. What parts of her body is she most embarrassed about and most proud of? Well, I would have to, in her skin, I'd have to go into the restroom and strip down
and critically review that.
Yeah, I'd have to review that one to know.
Carefully. I mean,
why did she choose to wear those specific clothes and accessories today? What kind of stupid fucking... I mean, I'm tempted to give a nice little adolescent answer like, well, because she's a hoa.
Well, keep in mind, the reason being is because in that previous header, they talk specifically about competition through the use of handbags and heels.
Yes.
Female to female competition through the use of, yeah. That is why they put
but we have to acknowledge that these choices are largely unconscious. I mean, women generally and men to dress to look good. And that's usually about as much thought as they put into it.
Exactly.
And they might put more thought into it if they're going to meet somebody that they're interested in.
Most of them are not going, oh my God, Lisa might wear something better. No, most of them just want to look presentable.
Just get dressed as far as I know, but according to these clowns, they've got women so figured out. Who are her friends and which ones would be most judgmental if she had casual sex? I don't know, her boyfriend? How does that impact her behavior and choices? I don't care. Nobody asks me these questions. Nobody cares how men feel about any of these things. You know why? They shouldn't. It's stupid individual stuff. And it doesn't mean anything on the social scheme. And that's what social justice warriors do. They try to take personal perceptions, personal ideas about what's right and wrong, and do
everything they can to force it on the whole society like they're doing with this piece of shit book. One of the primary tenet of feminism is the personal is political. Yep. And you know something? And they have succeeded in that. I had part of an exchange on Twitter about this, related this today with Paula Wright, that when you look at how family courts are operated, when you look at the impact of allegation on men, you better bet your ass that the person is political. Absolutely. It is. It didn't used to be that way. No. That became a coined feminist term because it worked. Not to say that there weren't similar issues that we can trace dating all the way back to the late 1800s, because we can. But what we are saying is that has become a much greater openly political force since then. Absolutely correct. If she got pregnant tomorrow, what would she do? Well, if I were her, I'd go fuck Donald Trump right away, or Rupert Murdoch, or somebody with lots and lots of money. If she got pregnant tomorrow, what would she do? I don't know. I guess that would be her choice. She has choices to make. Absolutely. She can abort, she can keep, she can adopt, she can do a ton of different things. How am I supposed to know what she would do when she has a smorgasbord of choices in front of her? Stupid question again. What kind of men does she date, and do they sexually satisfy her? Are any of them here right now? Oh, wow. I don't know what to say. Through the whole article, we're told that men think through their dicks, and that women are omniscient, vapid psychopaths, capricious psychopaths. Okay, this is what has been put forth through this whole article, and at the end, they expect men to now add omniscient thinking with their dicks. Yes, you poor guys who think with your dicks have to think with her vagina now in order to empathize. I think that's what they're saying. This is such gobbledygook that it's hard to tell. Okay, I'm going to read the last paragraph here. Women are pulling their weight in trying to understand you bullshit.
That is not true. Women, I'm not faulting women for that. I'm faulting men and women for that, because the fact of the matter is that there's no social standard that requires women to understand anything about men other than their fucking wallet. And that's the way it is. They subscribe to women's magazines that devote thousands of words a month to trying to get inside your head. That's bullshit too. What they do is they read Cosmo and a bunch of other women's magazines
that tell them what they want to hear.
How to get what they want. That's what they're reading. It's not about understanding you, except to the extent of how to manipulate you. Sadly, those magazines suck. Well, God, you think your book
is any better?
Oh my God. I'd rather read Cosmo than go through this fucking article again. They chat with their female friends about what men might be thinking or feeling and what a man meant by his particular sentence or that particular action. Well, you know, there's some truth in that. I've seen women my whole life that are, what do you mean by that?
Yep, pick apart every little detail.
Yes, oh, by the way, sweetheart, next month me and James are going to hook up. We're going to go fishing. Well, why are you doing that? That's what women do. I mean, I'm sorry. It's the way it is. It doesn't mean it means anything, and it doesn't mean it's anything anybody needs to pay attention to. They even become psych majors. God, don't I know it? Oh my God, don't I know it?
And some of them very, very good ones.
And there's a couple of them that I've met that were very good therapists. But in 20 years of working in that industry myself, what we had was a bunch of people, because basically a psychology degree is a license to learn. I don't care if it's a bachelor's, a master's, or a PhD, it's a license to learn. Becoming a good therapist is a process of self-exploration, learning the difference between you and your clients, learning that you're not there to work on your issues, because everybody, including me, everybody gets into the psychology field to look at their own issues. That's what drives people to do it. The ones who stick with it and get better are the ones that sort that shit out and figure out that they're there for clients. These women, by and large, are not there for clients. They're there trying to solve their own issues, and they're not going to get it with a psych degree, and they're sure as hell not going to get it.
I'll tell you right now, if any guy follows the advice that these two asshats purport to give inside this column, they will end up going to find therapy from someone like Dr. Tara Permaltier.
If they're lucky.
If they're lucky.
If they're not, they'll end up with one of these psycho bitches that goes into psychology because she hates men, has daddy issues, and then she'll still refuse to sort that stuff out and then take it out on every client. I'm not exaggerating. That's not hyperbole. I watched that shit happen for decades. It is a tragic, tragic situation. Don't follow these guys' advice, guys. Just don't. Tucker, Geoffrey, you know, please, like, learn fishing and write a book about that. Learn something, anything. This is absolutely one of the most hateful, biased, sexist, idiotic articles that I've ever read, and it's only one chapter in a book that they're actually out there selling at major retailers. Mate, don't become the man women want. Become the man you're supposed to be for yourself. Become a man you can be proud of. You don't have to please a woman to do that. In all likelihood, if you learn to adopt a set of values and live by them and don't retreat for them for a piece of ass or for a pat on the head from a woman, then you will end up making a woman happy and a lot of other people. But that's a side effect of taking care of yourself, making sure that you're happy and making sure that you have values, that you don't surrender the moment you see a 1/4 inch of pubic hair or some side boob. And unfortunately, this is what these guys are teaching you to do. Surrender it all, give it away, leave it, live on your knees, kiss ass, and that's their road to happiness. I've already used up my one fuck you, so I'll have to refrain from the second one.
I'll say it. Fuck you. Fuck you.
Can I say what James said? Both times. Okay,
Well, folks,
we are running way over.
We are, but this had to be done.
This had to be done, and you can thank us again that we didn't cover every last paragraph, because we would be here for 4 hours. This was
Easily.
a long one, and when it's a long piece of shit, I know it gets tiresome, but these guys needed to be called out. I know it's going to help them promote their book, and now probably Diana Boston and go buy 10 copies of it, and by the time she's done, the pages will all be stuck together. But
Pamela O'Shaughnessy will probably buy 10 copies as well.
You mean Pamela O'Shaughnessy, that was a novelist for Simon & Schuster, that was running around under the screen name Bliat Tiptree, talking about eugenics and reducing the population of men on Earth to between...
Yeah. I mean, since she's not selling her own books now, she might as well go buy someone else's.
I heard her writing career is not doing that well. I was very, very, very concerned to hear about that.
Yeah, I was too. I can't imagine it was because of her eugenics views.
No, probably not. Probably had nothing to do with that.
You know.
But folks, that's it for tonight. We're going to be back here, of course, a week from tonight, where we will have, who are we going to have? Hello. I've got so many people lined up. We will have, well, it may be 2 weeks from now, we'll have one of these guys. We're going to either have Paul Beatty next week, who is a men's substance abuse counselor from Australia, really good guy. I did an interview, a hangout with him once before. He sat in on one of our mental health programs, but we're going to interview him about that, and we're going to be talking about a much better subject than this garbage we had to cover tonight. We're going to be talking about men and addictions. Both of us, both Paul and I, are addictions counselors. That's what we've done for a living for a long time. It is an issue that disproportionately impacts men and boys, and we're going to have a good discussion and an interview about that. And of course, James and I will be here with the latest news and events to cover, instead of going through again this horrible article.
Oh, God, let's hope this is a once in a blue moon sort of.
I think I've earned my glass of bourbon for the night, Mr.
Yeah.
And with that, I think there's something that you're supposed to tell people to do, James.
Absolutely, folks. Always remember, take the red pill.